Alright, so this is the beginning of chapter 8, and chapter 8 is mostly on solving equations. Later in the chapter, it's solving inequalities. This first slide is on the cover page of your note packet. Just a little bit of vocabulary and the essential question. So we'll fill in the blanks of these statements here. A blank is a math sentence stating that two expressions are equal. Okay, the key word here is equal, and that is an equation. So an equation is a math sentence stating that two expressions are equal. The second one, a value for the variable that makes an equation true is called a solution. So when you solve an equation and you get x equals 2, for example, that is the solution. To solve an equation, to undo operations, you use inverse operations. For example, addition and subtraction undo each other. They're inverse operations. And same with multiplication and division undo each other. And the last one, an inequality is a math sentence that compares quantities that are not equal. So, when you use an equal sign, that is when you have an exact value. If you see the word is or a total, basically if you're solving an equation, you're going to have an equal sign. When you use an inequality symbol, well, we have to know that before inequality symbols are greater than . Alright, so the first example says solve 4.2x equals negative 52.5. Solve and check your solution. So the first one, we know the 4.2 is being multiplied by x, so the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So we show division with a fraction bar now. So we're going to divide both sides by 4.2, and that gives us x equals negative 12.5. So one-step equation, to undo multiplication, you use division. So for our check, we are going to write down the original equation, 4.2x equals negative 52.5. If I think that x is negative 12.5, you replace the x with that number and see if it is actually true. So if I multiply 4.2 and negative 12.5, I get negative 52.5, which is equal to negative 52.5. So it checks out. All right, now we're going to solve a word problem. So it says a drive-through safari zoo charges $12.50 per person for admission. So that's the key information there. In 1 hour, the park raised $675 in admission fees. Write and solve an equation to find out how many people visited that hour. So we don't know how many people visited in that hour. So we're going to let my variable p represent the number of people. I know that it's $12.50 a person, so my equation could be $12.50 times how many people that went equals my total amount, which was $675. Okay. $12.50 is being multiplied by the variable p, so to undo that, we're going to divide by $12.50 from both sides. Show that fraction bar, and then my solution is p equals 54. And since this is a word problem, make sure you label your answer. So how many people visited that hour? The final answer is 54 people. All right, this was just a team huddle, solve and check. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll go through maybe 2 examples, one being the word problem and then one of the ABCD. But they're all very similar in the process. So let's do A. So on the right side, you have 5.6 x, so that's multiplication. So I want to divide by 5.6 from both sides, and I get x on the right. And if I divide negative 19.6 by 5.6, you get negative 3.5. So we got to check. I'm going to write the original problem down. Negative 19.6 equals 5.6x. Replace my x with negative 3.5. That multiplication, does that actually equal negative 19.6? And if you type that on your calculator, you should see that it does. So that checks out. Okay. So on 1b, you're going to divide both sides by negative 20.9. And you get y is equal to 12. And then go through the check process. Okay, 1c, the answer should be a equals negative 16, and 1d is negative 24.5 equals z. All right, so we'll go through the actual word problem down below. In 1 year, a 1-year in-state camping permit for New Mexico state parks costs $180. If the total income from the camping permits is $8,280, so that's my total income. The 180 was the price for a permit. Write and solve an equation to find out how many permits were purchased. So again, I'm going to use let P equal the number of permits. Your equation would be $180 per permit is equal to my total, 8,280. Since 180 is being multiplied by P, you divide both sides by 180. And you get that P is equal to 46. And since it's a word problem, I gotta label my answer. So how many permits were purchased? There were 46 permits. Final answer. All right, so now we're going to solve these by multiplying. Okay, so the first half of the lesson was using division. Now we're going to solve them using multiplication. So 1/4 y, that is multiplication. And we want to undo that, so the opposite would be to divide. But 1/4 divided by 1/4, when you have a fraction divided by a fraction, you can keep, change, flip. So you're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal to get rid of that fraction. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1, or just 4. I can put the negative 8/1. This all becomes 1. You're left with y equals negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. So that is your answer. And to check our solution, we are going to write the original problem, 1/4 y equals negative 8. Take 1/4, substitute my answer of negative 32, set it equal to negative 8, and 1/4 of negative 32 is actually negative 8, which that checks out. All right, the next example, you have two fractions here, negative 3/5 x. So to undo that fraction, I am going to multiply both of these fractions by the reciprocal of negative 3/5, which is negative 5/3. So this all cancels out. You're left with x. The shortcut method here is 3 divides into negative 6, negative 2 times, so that turns into a negative 2. The bottom turns into a 1. Negative 5 goes into 25 5 times, so this could be a negative 1. This could be a 5. And negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. And 5 times 1 across the bottom is 5. So my answer is x equals 2/5. And I also have to check this one. So my original was negative 3/5 x equals negative 6/25. Replace my variable with my answer that I think it is 2/5. And I want to see if that's equal to negative 26/5. So negative 3 times 2, that's negative 6. So negative 6/5, and multiplied by 2/5 is negative 6/25, which equals the right-hand side. So it is correct. And lastly, we have a couple more team huddle questions. I'll go through 3B, and then I'll give you the answers to the other ones. 3B, you have 6/7 m is equal to the negative 3/14. The reciprocal of 6/7 is 7/6. So multiply each side by 7/6. You get m equals, on the right-hand side, again, the shortcut, 7 divides into 14 twice, and negative 3 goes into 6 twice. So your final answer is negative 1/4. Okay? And you can go through the other examples if you would like to. So that is it. And then if you want to do these extra questions as practice, I can display the answers so you can kind of see what you should get if you practice on your own. Solve them, check them, and there you go. So that's the end of section 8.1. Thank you.